When you sell a home, you have $250,000 of gain that you could take tax-free per person. So if you're married, that's $500,000 of gain above what you paid on it, and there's no tax on that. Money can be complicated. Let a nerd help you. We're here to demystify the complex nature of money by getting you answers from financial nerds and whiz kids. Welcome to Ask the Money Nerds, a weekly segment of the Wealth Labs podcast where we answer your most pressing money questions. One of the more controversial topics that comes up is a mortgage. I mean, people have this dream of living in certain homes and getting excited about it at the same time. There's a lot of advice of you're just enslaved if you owe anything on your mortgage, and what's the best way to do it? Well, we're going to continue to have these conversations around mortgages because there's a lot of opinion, and I want to give people kind of where both sides are coming from, but then give you enough information to make better choices. So, Chief of Staff Stolba, what's up?
Here I am.
How are you?
I'm great.
You look really nice today. That's a great
So
shirt
fancy.
combo, and your hair looks good. Mine's probably all like messed up in the headset. My wife will let me know about it.
I didn't realize there's so much controversy around mortgages until we started having
How
these
you
conversations.
pay them off, and if you pay them off or don't pay them off. I mean,
People feel very passionate,
yeah.
especially on your YouTube channel.
People that have paid it off want to learn nothing else in life, I feel sometimes. I'm like, I love that they paid it off. Like, we're sitting in a place where I have no mortgage. Okay, there's no mortgage on this, but I have a home that has a mortgage. And it's a choice. I could pay it off if I chose to. I have the money.
Yeah.
I choose not to based upon I can earn a little bit more interest very safely than it's costing me. You know, my loan's like 4%, and I can earn about 4.5%, maybe up to 5% inside of my cash flow bank. I'm not paying taxes on it. I could pull that money out and within 72 hours pay off the home. So I'm comfortable with that. Other people, they're not comfortable having a mortgage. It's very stressful, and maybe it's because I'll give it to some people. They might be married to an entrepreneur who's constantly reinvesting and always racing ahead, and so you want some stability and security, and that's fine. Look at what you want your objectives to be. That's important. Our job is to give the best methods.
Yes.
If you are going to pay it off, what gets you there the most safely, which gives you the most control. You know, and some people go, well, I'm not really good about my money. I'm just going to blow it anyway. Well, okay, that might be a little different strategy than someone who is a little bit more disciplined or responsible with their cash. But if you're not responsible with your cash, I don't think any strategy is going to help you.
Yeah.
You're going to put yourself in danger, unfortunately. So, yeah, that's where some of these emotions come from. And some we just, if we go back to the Great Depression, it used to be that if you had a mortgage in the United States, they could come and call that note due. They could say, you know what? You need to pay this off. And people didn't have the money in the Great Depression, so they lost their homes. So that leaves generational wounds, stories that get passed down from generations of,
Definitely.
if you don't pay off your mortgage, it's at risk. Well, guess what? In today's world, as long as you make your payment, they can't come and take it from you. There might be balloon payments 5 years in, not usually on a primary residence, but sometimes like on a commercial property that you're buying for investment, where you either have to refinance or pay it off in 5 years, right? Because it's a short-term note. But if it's a mortgage, what I see every time is if they make the payment, they keep the home. It's only if you miss it, and then there's a foreclosure process that takes some time. And so that's why it's important in especially recessionary times to have some liquidity and safety. So, there's a lot of opinions here.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. I've been learning a lot myself. The question today from Lynn is
All right.
in regards to a mortgage as well. So she says, I'm looking for advice regarding my home mortgage. When my ex-husband and I divorced in 2018, we agreed that I would keep the house and give him an equity buyout payment of $71,000 within 2 years' time, or else the house would be put up for sale. I have 1 year left to figure out how I will give him his money and get him off the mortgage. When I looked into the idea of a cash out refinance, as well as the bank's quick claim process, it appears I do not qualify for either because of my credit score being over 800, and I have 60% equity in my home. My income is around $20,000 per year, which is too low. I do have about $40,000.
So real quick clarification, doesn't have a credit score of 780 or does?
She says her credit score is over 800.
Over 800. Okay. Got it. Just making sure.
And then did you catch the 60% equity?
60% equity, yep.
Income of $20,000 per year.
Yep.
And she has about $40,000 in savings.
How much is the mortgage, does she say?
She did not say.
Okay. Well, the first thing is with $20,000 in income and not qualifying, what the bank's essentially saying is there's not enough income to really justify this home. And so we're at a place where the market is really high as far as values. It may make sense to sell. I get that I'm saying this in almost an insensitive manner because this is a home. There could be young kids. There could be a lot of memories there, obviously. So I get that. But at the same time, we have to have a hard look at the finances and say, if there's only this amount of income, and you're going to have to pay out, like we know that there's a decent amount of equity and there has to be $71,000 paid out to the husband in the next year. Like, here's what's nice about selling it. When you sell a home, you have $250,000 a gain that you could take tax-free per person. So if you're married, that's $500,000 of gain above what you paid on it, and there's no tax on that.
Wow.
So there's an opportunity to get some tax-free money here. Now, we have to consider what's the payment versus what is rent out there, as far as schools, and there's things like this, but we've got to be realistic here. And I think part of it is, like, look, this is the closest that I could say is we found this cabin because we went and stayed at our old cabin, which was less than 1,000 square feet. We had 2 dogs in there that time, snoring people, everybody that got up to use the bathroom. I was sleeping on a couch because there wasn't room anywhere else. And the bottom line is when we drove home, I'm like, it feels like we've been on a bender for a week. Like, I don't feel like I've slept. And so we just got really specific of what we're looking for, just crystal clear. And this thing came up and it was 95% of everything that we wanted. So we have to get really, really clear about what we want.
Yeah.
And so is this $20,000 income capped, or is there any opportunity for more? If you continue with the home, the bank's saying that they won't refinance it because there isn't enough income there. That means you have a dangerous situation from a cash flow standpoint. Is there anyone else in the family that's supporting to make this happen or not? I don't know. Now, if the income was correct, like where it was in a good spot to handle this, I would say you could always look at getting a relative to finance the home. And then you can do what's called a capital lease. So they finance it. It's on their credit with their income. So you can get that equity out. You can pay it off, to the husband. And then you just make the payment plus a little bit more. Because if you don't have as good of a situation, you'll pay a little higher interest rate anyway. So pay what interest rate you would have to the bank to this individual so they keep a little bit. So there's an incentive and there's collateral with the property. So that would be an option if you personally can't qualify. The second option would be to actually sell the home, take the gains, improve even how much is in savings, because it's awesome to see $40,000 in savings. And with that, maybe start looking at turning some of that money into cash flow, right? We've seen people go out there and buy a duplex, rent one side out, right? And even through Airbnb, so they're getting even higher income because it's short-term rentals versus a long-term rental person. And we've seen that boost double or triple what they're bringing in on a monthly basis. So that's about becoming a little bit more resourceful that way, or simply just renting. But the key is going to be, if you get the $40,000 of savings boosted, taking some of that cash from the home and creating cash flow, which is a reverse situation from paying money to keep the home. So, like I said, I'm not taking into consideration other aspects of her life and preferences, but this is really, the bank is telling the story here. There's a good amount of equity. The market's at a pretty strong place right now to actually sell. It's time to start looking. Is there other places you could buy? Because of the equity that's there. Is there anything else that you could go and rent that puts you in a favorable situation, but not taxing you financially? Because if you have income coming in and all that goes to pay a mortgage, then you don't have any money to invest in yourself. Then you don't have a safety net as far as, there's $40,000 in savings right here, but that's going to be wiped out and then some, or forced to sell the home, which who knows a year from now, what's the market going to be like? If you have to have that by a certain period of time, is it now you're back dealing at a place where 2 people got divorced and they have to come to some agreement about what the house price is? You have control for this next year. I would heavily consider that.
Yeah. It sounds like this next year is really important for her. It feels like there's a little bit of urgency as well. Like, she's got to make a decision fairly quickly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So either, get someone to do a capital lease for you, or sell, take the extra money, start creating cash flow with it so you can improve your financial situation. And then, where the income's at, is there other opportunities, or is there, a lot of work going on with taking care of kids and those kind of things? I just don't know enough, but feel free to come back to AskTheMoneyNerds.com. Give us more context, give us more detail. We've at least given you 2 options here that maybe, weren't fully considering, but that tax-free, sale might make the most sense.
Okay. There is one question that she has. She said, should I use my savings to pay down my mortgage?
No. This is a concern
that's what I
for
thought
me.
you were going to say.
If you pay it down, especially if it's amortized, yes, it will reduce the balance, but it will not reduce the payment unless it's an interest-only mortgage. Mm-hmm. So now you still have a higher payment. You've shortened the term that you have to pay it in, but you're at risk. What if there's a financial surprise? We're all in store for financial surprises.
Absolutely.
Now, all of a sudden, you're putting your equity at risk because you pay it down, and then maybe a year from now, you're forced to sell. You go with the spouse, and they're going, just sell it. I just want to get my money back. And you're getting all this pressure and unnecessary stress. Do not do that.
Yeah.
Do not do that. That would make no sense.
Peace of mind too. There's nothing there as like
risky.
A safety net, and times, we all enter hard times. So if there's nothing there to access, I feel like that would be even more stressful.
If the bank was willing to give a loan right now, if there was a lot more income coming in, if there were other assets that were fairly liquid, then that might be a consideration. But right now, that would be a horrendously dangerous idea that I would advise against.
Yeah, I thought that's what you were going to say. Yeah, I think that's all of Lynn's question. So we covered it.
Keep the questions coming. AskTheMoneyNerds.com. You got questions, we'll get answers, or we'll bring a nerd in that will know.